Welcome, everyone, to Mexican Crossing Lines with your hosts, Cindy Gomez-Schempp.
And Duke Gomez-Schempp.
You're listening to 88.1 FM KPPPLP Fargo, Moorhead, where we are adding local color to your airwaves. And tonight's show is about New Age cons. I'm going to break down the whole Winona lawsuit, Honor the Earth lawsuit, for you. And why it's important for you to understand this, folks. If you want to know who has been coordinating the people that are involved in bringing the caravans and organizing the caravans, and why there are Native Americans at the forefront of these camps, how come there are tribes involved in the caravan support network that are bringing the eagle and condor prophecy to the caravans in Mexico, and what in the hell this is all about, okay? Why I've been trying to explain to you why it's so important that you understand the connections from Standing Rock to the Caravan Support Network, because many of the people in it are the same people, and you need to understand what the methodology is, what's going on in the brain. In this lawsuit, you will learn there's a fake shaman accused of molesting Native boys. And Honor the Earth is accused of not only that, but of allowing workplace harassment by the same New Age con, the same fake shaman she worked with and gave agency to through her organization's work, and how this woman was harassed in the workplace and kept going back to different people in the board and the organization, Winona herself, and lots of other things that she did to try to stop this hostile work environment. She was also accused of tax violations, and there's a lot of other interesting tidbits in there that I think you need to know about. So we're going to talk about that, and we're then going to talk about what would be the reasons why maybe Winona LaDuke of Honor the Earth would allow this kind of behavior in her organization that's supposed to be about honoring sacred things like women and the earth, right? Because they're all getting into missing and murdered Indigenous women, and they're going to be at the forefront of that conversation about vulnerable people. So is there something in her background, like maybe her fake shaman daddy, Sun Bear? Because that could be an interesting comparison, you know? She has her daddy raised her, and he made his, way in life by being a fake shaman and selling ceremony. So maybe that's where she got the idea that that's cool to do and to let others do, even when they're not real Indians, even when they're not even Native Americans. And how those people with those agendas, many of them privileged white folks, privileged white men or white women, rich with interests in politics and policy, energy policy, like Marianne Thompson Frank of the NEXUS group that I told you is associated with the Melaine Institute, pictured in just my last show, along with Juan B. Mancias of the Carrizo Come Crudo tribe, now currently involved in these camps at the border of our southern border, to be a border support network encampment, right? That is part and parcel of what Honor the Earth has supported amongst their projects, is the Braveheart Society with Faith Spotted Eagle of Standing Rock. The Braveheart Society had as its member, and as one of the women that was unleashed on the camp, those were her own words, Melaine Stoneman, the woman that kicked all of this off for me, the woman that kidnapped Mary Trujillo, an elderly Oglala Lakota woman, and left her daughter facing 15 years in jail. The Kathleen Bennett story. Melaine Stoneman took custody of Kathleen's mom, Mary Trujillo, and left that woman to die in a hospital. Melaine and Christina Hollenback fled. They filed false police reports that left Kathleen facing 15 years. Don't worry, we exonerated her. But Christina Hollenback also worked for with the Water Protector Legal Collective, the organization of lawyers that I told you were doing a bunch of unethical things. One of which is the fiscally agented by Honor the Earth called Freshet. Winona LaDuke again. Winona LaDuke again. And Christina Hollenback is part of that NEXUS group, the organization that partially funded the Young Turks. The Young Turks again. The Young Turks again. Winona also backs Doug McLean and his Standing Rock Pipeline Protectors page on Facebook, a group, a large platform of people. And that page is administered by Jim Petruzzi and Doug McLean. Jim Petruzzi is also another fake shaman. We'll talk about him. We'll get a little bit into him and his sanctuary of the Mother Earth organizations and the hundreds of thousands of dollars that he has fundraised off Indianness. White dude, Italian dude, passing himself off as a fake shaman. All of that tonight on Mexican Crossing Lines. But first, I want to thank you for all your support and your help and the information you guys send me and the emails. Great stuff. Keep it coming. Also, I want to tell people how they can follow us. If you don't subscribe to our YouTube channel, you should go to Duke1517. Duke, tell them all the stuff. Where do they get it?
Oh, yeah. You can get it in several places. And again, thank you all. Thank you all for supporting us and watching us. We love that so many people are coming back. I see on they have a new little thing called Top Fans. So when you're a top fan, it puts a little badge on there. You're a top fan. Thank you to all the top fans. Thank you to all the people that are watching this broadcast.
Some people also says that they shared their sharers.
Oh, good sharers.
I love
top sharers. We love the sharers. There's several ways to get a hold of us. We have a call-in line, a message machine, basically, a message line. You can call that and leave a voicemail. And it can be reached at 701-566-0917. It's 701-566-0917. You can also tweet us at media_PPP. And you can email Cindy at kpppfm.com or me, Duke, at kpppfm.com. You can find us on Facebook at 88.1 Fargo Moorhead, the People's Press Project, and Mexi-Can. Cindy mentioned our website, kpppfm.com. That's where we take all of our videos and our audio files. We strip down the audio files, and we use many of these to blast them on the local radio air here in Fargo Moorhead. We have to do some editing to get them compliant for that. Those will be on our web pages at kpppfm.com. We also take the videos and we upload them to YouTube, and we're using high-definition recordings of these shows and putting them on YouTube for people that might not follow on Facebook, and they make it more world-reachable. You can find our channel at Duke1517 or Duke Gomez-Schempp. It's under both of those, but the channel is actually Duke1517. Would really appreciate it if you subscribe to our channel. We're getting close to 1,000 subscribers. We're in the 800s. We need 1,000. We want to be able to do some more fun things that we're allowed to do once we reach 1,000 subscribers. So if you'd please go there, take a little time, subscribe, click on the notification bell. Every night we'll put these videos up within an hour or two after the show. And you're welcome to watch them there or share them from there too, or make comments there. Now, when you're at kpppfm.com, you can read a little bit more about some of the programming we have, some of our history, and we also have a donation tab because we are a 501c3 nonprofit organization. Any donations made to us are tax deductible, and we rely on our listeners, our viewers, and people in the community that support us, and they support us through a donation. You find a link there and information about how to do that, and let us know when you make a donation. I'd love to mention your name on the air, but a lot of people don't, so I just have to use their initials or part of their name. But I'd really love to give some honor to the people who are supporting us. So if you'd go to kpppfm.com/donate, make a donation, and in the message spot, write that, put my name on the air. If you don't put anything on there, I'm not going to put it on the air, but give me permission to put your name on the air as someone who supports our work. We would greatly appreciate it.
Now, let me tell you, many of these people, like the one in this lawsuit, are revered for their status as shaman, as medics, as leaders in their community, right? Melaine Stoneman is dangerous and crazy. She kidnapped an old lady that she didn't intend to take care of because she was going to leave her in a hospital to die. If any of you have been loyal followers and listeners for the past 3 years, you know this story. If you don't, go to kpppfm.com, and there's written material. There's years of research based on the Kathleen Bennett story about what these people did, what they're capable of. Melaine Stoneman and her husband are associated with the Native American Church in Porcupine, South Dakota. A lot of these people take that spiritual leadership and use it to commit crimes against other people. But they have the moral superiority while they're doing it, and people like Honor the Earth are being accused of giving them that agency to harm people with, and then of covering it up because they want to keep on doing it. That is what the accusations are, ladies and gentlemen. And we're going to talk about why this pattern of behavior is abusive. It is astroturfing, carpet bagging. These people are pseudo activists with white backers, privileged backers, political backers, party affiliated backers that want their agenda brought forward. And they want to take and astroturf an issue like immigration, the border wall, the caravans, and be the heroes of the catastrophes that they create. We'll also talk about what the fallout is when you install fake shaman. What are the things that can happen? A perfect example of that, of course, is Melaine Stoneman, is the crimes that she committed against this family, Kathleen Bennett's family. But let's start off with a Becker County, Minnesota case of Campbell versus Honor the Earth. I will be sharing this with all of y'all so you can check it out for yourself. Okay? You can go see. There's a case number. And the excerpts that you will be seeing today are from this case. Now, I got to tell you, this is fascinating. We might have a longer show than usual today because it's very important that we all learn this together. But it's fascinating. It's fascinating. If you need, you should get some snacks because we're going to be connecting, a lot of dots today. And I need you to be comfortable and in for the ride. Buckle up. So Honor the Earth is sued here, and I'm not going to go through the whole thing because it's, like I said, it's a lot. But I highly recommend it. I think you should read it because it's really interesting and fascinating. But I'm going to try to get to the main important points, okay? So, and the reason I'm going through this is because I think that it's important for you to see the accusations that are being made against Honor the Earth and against Winona LaDuke and some of the evidence that they provide in their complaint. And then I will share some of the other attached pleadings as well. So, beginning with this one, Honor the Earth protects its reputation, which is part of the introduction. It says that plaintiff Margaret Molly Campbell worked for Honor the Earth for over 6 years. She was and still is committed to the excellent work the organization does to bring attention to Native environmental issues, including stopping pipelines from being built through tribal treaty lands. However, during 2014 and 2015, she was sexually harassed by a coworker at Honor the Earth. She also learned that the coworker who did youth organizing at Honor the Earth had been credibly accused of using his status as a spiritual leader to commit sexual violence against Native boys. She was extremely disappointed when Honor the Earth failed to take these accusations seriously. Instead of acting promptly to protect the community from this predator, Honor the Earth tried to silence Campbell to protect the organization's reputation. Yep, that's what they're accused of right in the intro. Now, I'm going to show you that the man that is accused of doing these molestations is accused of being a fake shaman. And it says in here, number 18, that Dahl did not have the qualifications or experience typical for a spiritual leader. Outside of White Earth, he is not generally recognized as a spiritual leader in the Ojibwe tradition. Okay? He is a fake shaman. 19. As a spiritual leader, he's not a spiritual leader, though. He's a fake shaman. Let's just call him that because that's what he is. But it says here, Dahl had the opportunity because of his status. Again, agency given to him by Honor the Earth and Winona LaDuke herself, gave him the opportunity to work with teenage boys who were part of his drum group. Duke, he was molesting the boys in the drum group.
I see that, yes.
Drum groups are used for ceremony. 20. Sometime after Campbell joined Honor the Earth, Dahl became involved with the organization through the White Earth Land Recovery Project. You know about the White Earth Land Recovery Project, don't you, Duke?
I used to.
Like Honor the Earth, White Earth Land Recovery Project was also founded by Winona LaDuke, who also serves as its executive director. Okay? So this lawsuit says she's still the director, Duke.
I see that.
And it's a recent lawsuit. So what do you make of that? Because didn't you hear that Bob Schempp had taken over? And didn't he say that she had kind of left things in shambles for him to clean up?
Yeah, that was my understanding, that she's no longer the executive director. But she's founded the organization and ran it for many years, collected all sorts of grant money and all sorts of funding, because what they were doing is they were buying back land when it came up for sale on the White Earth Reservation and giving it back to the tribe. That was the philosophy anyways. Who knows what really went on. And when I saw Bob Schempp last year, or about a year and a half ago, he was very angry about money issues in Winona. And, I thought, this conflict's right in the middle of our table in front of some funders. What's going on? Not looking good for them. They're hosting a meeting. They're fighting.
Got ugly.
Right there. Kind of got ugly.
It got ugly. People were yelling and screaming at each other. Anywho, it goes on. Honor the Earth's executive director, Winona LaDuke, is an environmental economist and writer. She is an enrolled member of the Ojibwe Nation. In 1996 and 2000, she ran for vice president of the United States as the nominee of the Green Party on a ticket headed by Ralph Nader. Honor the Earth. Okay, number 14. These are all of the allegations against them, the accusations, the assertions that are being made that have to be answered by Honor the Earth and their attorney. And this is what 14 says. It says, Honor the Earth improperly classified Campbell and most of its employees as independent contractors. As a result, Honor the Earth avoided paying payroll taxes for these employees. What do you make of that business practice as an organization with as much funding and as much time as it has, being an executive director of a nonprofit yourself, Duke?
Well, the problem with not paying your payroll taxes is that you end up with the IRS on your doorstep. It's basically the one thing that nonprofits can be held accountable for, is not paying your payroll taxes, and they can go after the board members individually. It's a pretty big deal. And the whole scams around trying to make you a contracted employee, that's because they don't want to pay in, and they don't want that sort of accountability with the federal government. And so I think it's shady, and I think it's lazy.
Mm-hmm.
So it's those are the sort of things that I think about.
Okay. Now, remember, this is not an indictment of Honor the Earth itself as an organization. This is a lawsuit against Honor the Earth as an employer for allowing a hostile work environment based on Winona LaDuke covering for a fake shaman in her employ that molested boys and also sexually harassed this woman who is now suing her. Okay? Miss Campbell is now suing Honor the Earth for that. But here is what is important. Okay? In the early fall of 2014, Campbell and Dahl attended a 2-week-long horse ride in connection to their employment at Honor the Earth. This horse ride was part of an Honor the Earth pipeline campaign, and both Campbell and Dahl were paid for attending. The horse ride was also attended by LaDuke, her family, and community members. These are some of the same horses that were at Standing Rock.
Yeah.
And she went on a ride there, too. It's part of the shtick, guys, okay? Oh, horses. Native Americans, Indians, sage, it's all coming back. It's all coming back. You got to get into it. Especially if you're selling that. If you're selling Indians, if you're allowing appropriation and basically selling it for access to Indians, which it appears that Winona LaDuke's daddy did, and that Winona facilitates for other people, still facilitates for other people. And the kind of people that she works with, the kinds of people that she is putting out there and facilitating financially or supporting through her organization, Honor the Earth. Number 26, Lorna Haynes, Winona LaDuke's sister, saw the comments made to LaDuke's sons. Some of these kids are adopted by LaDuke. One of them apparently was sexually harassed in some way by the person in question, Mr. Dahl himself. It says, Lorna, the sister of LaDuke, saw comments made to LaDuke's sons, and she confronted Dahl and called him a pervert. And this caused a verbal altercation that many people over the ride witnessed. Everyone saw it. However, LaDuke didn't take her own sister's sides or her own kids' side and take their concerns seriously. She pointed to the fact that her own sister had previously suffered a head injury to delegitimize the concerns of her own sister for her own sons. Okay? Do she care about her kids? I don't know. But that sounds fishy.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't have to tell me twice if somebody said they did something strange or even particularly not suitable for an adult male to be doing around children. Because bye, my children are going away from you. Quick. And I'm getting you the heck out of any groups that have children in them, right?
Right.
You don't expose kids to that. Number 27. LaDuke would refer to Dahl's status as a spiritual leader. This is important, folks, because here's the crux of the whole thing, okay? This is the whole crux. This woman is accused of facilitating through the use of justifying this man as a fake shaman, but a spiritual leader amongst the community through her organization, Honor the Earth, to diminish people's concerns from the community. Because of this, Campbell initially ignored her gut feelings that Dahl was behaving in sexually inappropriate or abusive ways that were designed to push people's boundaries. Now, for those of you who are listening on Facebook, who watch us on the social medias, I want to, or YouTube, I want to talk about our it's not a crawl, our chat box that people like to use. And I want to remind people that if you do small one sentence, keep it to a small character, pretend you're on Twitter, or something, and then put in your next sentences, because when you don't, when you write a big long paragraph, what happens is nobody gets to see it anyway. It's going to flip everything. It's going to like that. And if you don't care to have people actually see your comment, then, I guess you'll keep doing that. But the moderators will get after you. And if you're a repeat offender that refuses to listen, you might get booted for a while. Might get stopped from commenting so that you don't ruin the experience for everybody else. Just saying. So you guys better behave in there. But back to my show, I wanted to say we got to teach people etiquette a little bit. A little bit of etiquette. Because, we want to keep it nice and something people can participate in if they want to. Now, it says that in the next slide here, I was done with that one, right?
Yep.
I'm pretty sure. Campbell's job at Honor the Earth, including cooking, washing, cleaning, and taking care of Winona's kids. And her grandkids. Here on number 32, and you can see for yourself, it says, when working at the Honor the Earth office location in Callaway, tell them where Callaway is, Duke.
It's out on the White Earth Reservation, about 40-some miles from here. Not very far.
We've been to White Earth.
Yeah, it's a little town just on Highway 59, I believe. Not, like I said, not too far from here.
Uh-huh. It says, when working at the Honor the Earth office location in Callaway, Campbell would stay at LaDuke's house. While staying there, Campbell was not charged rent, but was expected to be constantly on call to complete tasks that were not substantially related to her employment. These tasks included completing financial aid applications for LaDuke's school-age children, driving LaDuke's middle school children to school, and ensuring they did not skip school, cooking meals for the family, feeding LaDuke's animals, responding to LaDuke's personal mail and bills, and babysitting LaDuke's grandchildren. Duke, your thoughts on that? What kind of job description is that?
That's a personal assistant job. An administrative assistant and a butler and a nanny and a caretaker and, all sorts of personal responsibilities of someone. That's what I would think that was.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Okay, here's some more stuff from this pleading. It says in the complaint at number 45, around this time, Campbell became increasingly uncomfortable staying at the cabin with Doll. Oh, I'm going to fill in a little piece here. So it turns out that LaDuke was unable to separate her needs, to have boundaries that separated her from an employee, from being like a constant, her live-in maid and slave, to being an employee. And so the woman, Campbell, felt like she had to move out. So she ended up renting a cabin with another Honor the Earth employee so that she could afford it. And she paid like $450 a month. But she still was pressured into, at some point, and I don't know how this came about because it seems a little bit weird, that Winona LaDuke, who had this doll guy living at her house at the time, would kick him out or got rid of him for some reason, and he had to move in with her. The other roommate that Campbell was living with basically pressured her, and LaDuke pressured her as well, to let this guy move in there and pay rent there, because otherwise he was going to basically be homeless. A fake shaman homeless?
Yep.
Is there anything more sad? I don't know, Duke. Is there? I'm asking for a friend.
Oh, yeah.
So she became really uncomfortable because the guy was gross to her. He said sexually inappropriate things about her clothes, about her body, and about her sexual activity in front of other employees, humiliating her. And of course, there was the things that she learned from a sexual assault coalition group in the area in Minnesota about the molestation of young boys, that as a employee of Honor the Earth, it did not make her feel good at all. So it says in this next slide that around this time, she had become increasingly uncomfortable staying at the cabin with this guy, Dahl. And she began to hear from advocates for the survivors of sexual violence that Dahl had been publicly accused of having inappropriate sexual relationships with young boys. And that Campbell was extremely concerned about this. She informed LaDuke about what the advocates had said and pushed her to set up a meeting with them to learn more. It's like, hey, don't you want to know who this guy that's working with you is and what he's doing to little boys? Because this is bad. You have a, very potentially dangerous person working with you that could make you liable for any damage that he does to other people in their lives. 47 says LaDuke delayed collecting additional information. Sounds like she didn't want to know.
Yep.
And that she told Campbell that these were just rumors from political enemies, okay? Trying to harm Honor the Earth. So she used her organization to shield this man by saying, oh, these are people that want to come after me, Winona LaDuke. So they're saying that one of my employees is a pedo. That's what this is.
Yep.
That's a common thing, right, Duke? Well, you ran a nonprofit, you ran other nonprofits, you know a lot of nonprofit executive directors. I'm just asking for a friend.
It's pretty serious when an employee brings up sexual harassment. They've done trainings over the past 15, 20 years for organizations to learn how to deal with sexual harassment and giving employees an avenue to basically fix things in the workplace, or you're going to get your butt sued. And there can be human rights complaints, or it can be Department of Labor complaints, all sorts of stuff can fall down on you.
complaints.
EEOC, so it's something you don't treat lightly unless you think you can just get away with stuff like that.
I know. I handled some of those harassment claims against employers as a paralegal. And I handled the lawsuit against the Department of Labor for not doing its job a lot of the time in investigating, getting to the bottom of complaints made by North Dakotans. Mm-hmm. We handled a class action lawsuit against the Department of Labor that made them turn around their ways. Somewhat. But it goes on. And she did too. By the way, Campbell filed a complaint with human rights something, but she had filed it too late after the time limit, I guess, that they have for filing such things, which is crazy that they even have those kinds of time limits for filing a complaint about something like this. But anywho, when you make a complaint, whether it's the Department of Labor or these human rights organizations, which you are recommended to do by people that practice in this area of law, because you have shown that you've exhausted all of your avenues before you take it to court. And usually when you file a claim like this in court for damages, the court will ask you if you got through those processes first. Mm-hmm. So this is what ended up happening. Finally, after hearing from Campbell about allegations of Dahl's sexual misconduct with minors for almost 3 months, LaDuke set up a meeting to learn more about the allegations. And in 58, it says that LaDuke agreed to meet with Lorna Stevens Hunter, an employee of the Minnesota Indian Women's Sexual Assault Coalition. At the end of January in 2015, Bonnie Claremont, who worked at the Tribal Law and Policy Institute, and also Campbell's, was allowed to attend the meeting. Next, we will see that in 2012, Dahl was given a gift. At number 60, we learned that at the meeting with these two survivor organizations, advocate organizations for Native Americans, okay? After LaDuke meets with them at the meeting, that they tell LaDuke and Campbell about an incident that happened back in 2012. So both of these organizations for survivors of sexual assault are meeting with the executive director of Honor the Earth and an employee that has faced sexual harassment at the hands of one of these employees of hers. And they tell her about an incident that happened in 2012 when Claremont was present, at a gathering. One of the people that they're meeting with was actually physically present at a Native American gathering, a ceremony. Okay? Then that included gift giving, which is a very common part of some Native American ceremonies. And that Dahl was participating in the ceremony. Okay? You guys following along with me?
Yeah.
He was given a gift. And that's when all hell broke loose. That is when all hell broke loose. Because the next thing that happened is that the person that Dahl was giving a gift to was the mother of one of the children that had been molested by him. And she publicly got up and refused out loud to receive the gift because of reasons that she said. You, sir, are a pedo. You hurt my son, and I refuse to take a gift from you. She outed him in a religious ceremony. Okay, that's like standing up in church.
Yep.
Right? And saying, I have a confession to make. That priest touched me in my naughty bits.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Isn't this similar to a priest, except in this case, this guy is being passed off by a priest by Honor the Earth when he's a fake shaman. Isn't that like the Catholic thing?
Oh, yeah, and it's very public. You're in a public ceremony. You're basically standing up in the court of public and community opinion and letting people know what's going on. I mean, it's a pretty serious thing to happen because people tend to not bring their dirty laundry out into public like that, but that woman took that opportunity to do that. So that's some serious allegations being, spread in public that other people are going to start questioning you.
How many sexual predators that are actually having to be registered sex offenders for many years that we have shown over the years on our show, all of whom went to Standing Rock and had prominent positions in security as medics and as all sorts of things, including violent drug offenses, assault and rape, etc.
Lots.
Too many. And yet, isn't it all surprising to me that one of the reasons that this problem continues to perpetuate is because of people like LaDuke and organizations like Honor the Earth that support people like this guy, Dahl, that support people like the Braveheart Society and Melaine Stoneman, the kidnapper, the fake spiritual leader. Yeah, I'm going to call her fake because she's a kidnapper. So LaDuke didn't want to know, right? She said, this is all just political attacks on her and her organization. This mother made up a lie, said it in church in front of everyone, said it in ceremony in front of everyone because she hates Honor the Earth. Does that make sense?
No.
Do you think a logical person would conclude that a woman that refuses a gift from the person that abused her son, and she says it in ceremony in public and outs him in front of everyone, and two people from organizations of sexual assault survivors come and tell you, as the head of Honor the Earth, this is a credible accusation, okay? And also your employee is going, I think he's also a sexual predator because he's sexually predating on me. Now do you see how this would be bad for your organization, Winona?
Yeah.
And Winona said, nope. Instead, how about you tell me the name of that little boy? Because I don't like his mom, and I don't know. Maybe I can just get them to shut up. Look, it says here that one mother at the MIS, one of the sexual assault survivor organizations for the Minnesota gathering, she stood up and publicly refused to accept a gift. She told those present that Dahl had sexually abused her son when he was 15 and too young to consent to sexual acts. After the gathering, many organizations stopped working with Dahl, and more stories came out of sexual assaults that he had done. Michael Dahl's inappropriate sexual behavior toward boys became an open secret in White Earth community. Everybody knew about it. This sounds like Harvey Weinstein.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like everyone knew about it, and Winona didn't really care. What they're telling you is that not only was this not a secret, it wasn't like, oh, well, I mean, this is the first time anybody's heard of this guy doing it. Not that that means that he hasn't done it before, but it's just the first time he's been publicly accused. Turns out, no. No. Because after this happened, a bunch of other people stopped working with this dude, and it became an open secret in the town that he was a sexual predator of children. So she knew. She'd probably heard about it a whole bunch of other times before, and now she was hearing about it again, and she really didn't care. And according to the complaint, it looks like Winona, after hearing about this from this Claremont and Stevens Hunters, these two people in these sexual assault survivor organizations, LaDuke asked to identify the identifying information about the boy who was the subject of the accusation. Wary, because they're like, what? You want to dox this child and his mom? Wary of LaDuke's intentions, they declined to name him. They protected the victim. And because LaDuke seemed to be disregarding the allegations, both Campbell then reminded LaDuke about the harassment that had potentially that she had personally experienced and brought to LaDuke's attention in the past. And then LaDuke again responded dismissively, saying, "Oh, he does that to everyone, all the women." And then she laughed and added, "But he doesn't do it to me." He doesn't do it to me, so I guess it doesn't matter.
That's right.
And then Claremont and Stevens Hunter encouraged LaDuke to take the sexual harassment by Campbell seriously, and they also told LaDuke that sexual harassment was against the law. Campbell told LaDuke that she wanted to make a formal complaint about the sexual harassment. And LaDuke responded that it was past the statute of limitations. She became a lawyer.
Yeah.
I thought she studied environmental stuff at Harvard.
Yeah.
The most recent incident of harassment had occurred approximately a month before the meeting. She's a bad lawyer then, too, because she's like, the statute of limitations has run out. Where are those? I created them in Honor the Earth. They don't exist in any place else. 68 says that LaDuke abruptly changed the topic at that point to a fundraising campaign. Hey, let me tell you about this great fundraising campaign. And she told Claremont and Stevens Hunter that she was going to be hosting an event in just a few weeks with none other than the Vagina Monologues famous Eve Ensler about sexual violence against Native women. and Leduc asked if they would like to speak at the event. Hey, instead of talking about this sexual assault thingy, how about I tell you about this super cool event? I'm hosting it. It's going to be a fundraiser for groups that help people with sexual assault and violence. And we're going to be doing a big shindig for lots of moolah. Would you like to speak at this event and maybe get some of the moolah? What does that sound like to you, Duke? I'm just asking for a friend.
Well, diverting the attention away from taking anything seriously and saying, no, we're going to, and very hypocritical, we're going to promote an event about sexuality and acceptance and focus on women and Native issues, but we're not going to listen to our own employees with this complaint about this guy. This does it to everybody. Just get used to it, just the way it is, just accept it. I mean, that's not the image that Winona LaDuke projects to the community. I mean, she ran for vice president twice with Ralph Nader, and then she's telling her employees, go take a hike. You have to take this sort of stuff. There's no court case. There's no law. You aren't protected by anything. You're not protected by me by any means, even though you're employed by me. I mean, that's horrible.
Yeah. And according to this, after she asked if they wanted to speak at the event, their jaws dropped. They were appalled, it says. Claremont and Stevens Hunter were appalled. They felt like LaDuke was ignoring their allegations and trying to buy their silence with her connections. They did not understand. I'm sorry, it cuts off right here. We'll have to go to the next page. They didn't understand how she could do such a thing, basically.
Yeah.
Is how it ends.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the ending. How LaDuke could host an event like this while simultaneously ignoring sexual violence in her own organization. Hey, you just said that, Duke.
Yeah.
You're like, yeah.
I didn't even read it.
And Claremont and Stevens Hunter bluntly informed LaDuke that they would not participate in any action with Honor the Earth while it is harboring a sexual predator. And after the meeting with Stevens Hunter and Claremont, Campbell still continued to hope that she could convince Winona to take the problem seriously and do something about it.
Yeah.
Campbell told LaDuke that it was very important to believe victims, but instead, LaDuke brushed off the accusations, saying, Michael isn't dangerous. And she also said, we need to think about what redemption looks like. He does such good work. You know what? That's exactly what Mullaney said. Mm-hmm. That's exactly what these cons, these new age cons, many of them ex-felons, violent, dangerous people, liars for sure. Like Melaine Stoneman is a super liar. People that sell ceremony, people that like to sell to appropriators, sell Native culture to appropriators, people that like to carpet bag issues, sellouts, liars, frauds. And they say this, that person isn't dangerous.
Yeah.
We need to think about what redemption looks like.
Mm-hmm.
They're doing such good work.
Yep.
They're doing good work. Melaine Stoneman said that about herself.
Mm-hmm.
These cons have a lot in common. And by the way, LaDuke also got irritated. She got mad. She got angry. LaDuke got irritated. And she became irritated. Campbell told LaDuke that she was concerned, because Dahl was working with youth in his role as an organizer for Honor the Earth, and told LaDuke that just the other day she had found out that Dahl was meeting with students on a college campus after 11 p.m. and that this was a risk. Holy tamale. My God. She got angry at Campbell for telling her this. LaDuke became irritated. She told Campbell she was not willing to tell Dahl not to work with youth. And she said that if Campbell felt that strongly about it, she should go and tell Dahl herself and take him off of organizing. You take him off of organizing. She said, I'm not going to do it.
Really?
Hey, that guy that's been sexually harassing you at work, why don't you go tell him?
Yeah, really. Go deal with it yourself.
Deal with it
If
yourself.
it bothers you so much, go deal with it yourself.
Yeah. If it bothers you, you do something about it. I refuse.
Mm-hmm.
So this poor woman started going to other people for help. She went to the board members. She went to several times. And then finally, she went to other organizational leaders, one of which is Dallas Goldtooth.
Wow.
She went to the Indigenous Environmental Network, who Winona LaDuke works with all the time. They still work together.
Mm-hmm.
They, like this. These groups, these organizations that harbor predators, that protect men, that are usurpers of Indian topics and Indian issues, like Ed Higgins, like Mike Bassig. The list goes on and on and on. Predators. And it says that Goldtooth, who is an activist, actor, and comedian, and widely respected, I don't know about that.
Yeah,
He was one of the headsmen. He was one of the people involved in the framing of Kathleen Bennett, because he was one of the headsmen. And the headsmen decided that they needed to get rid of this family. That's according to Melaine Stoneman. They worked directly with the Braveheart Society. That's Melaine Stoneman. They worked with Chase Iron Eyes, Melaine Stoneman, all of these people. That's why they covered this up, because they're dirty. It says that he and his father worked for the Indigenous Environmental Network, an environmental organization frequently collaborates with Honor the Earth, yes, and also still now. After Campbell spoke to Goldtooth, Honor the Earth board member Kimberly Smith heard about their conversation. Subsequently, Smith called Campbell. Instead of asking what she could do to fix the situation, Smith berated Campbell and told her that Goldtooth called her and said that what she had done by contacting him was completely inappropriate and that she should have never shared information outside of the organization. And then Smith told Campbell LaDuke would have to deal with that situation and that they had to follow whatever LaDuke said, followed LaDuke's lead. Finally, Smith told Campbell that she should not cause drama and should not tell Goldtooth about the conversation they were having.
Complete cover-up.
Yep, cover it up. She went to the wrong people. She just found out what's a lot of these organizations that are supposed to be for helping Native Americans are really led by.
Yep,
who they're really led by. What kind of treatment they give to people that have a real issue of sexual violence or sexual violence against children. And remember, these are the same fools involving themselves now with these caravans, many of whom have lots of little unaccompanied minor children go missing. These people. Okay? You don't think something is going to go wrong here? I have some serious questions. Subsequently, when I tell you that these people have no business being in the front of anything that involves vulnerable people, I mean they have no business. None. So they said, shut up. She got told to shut up, and she was like, oh, crap. There is no help anywhere. All of it is fraudulent. What do I do now? So let me just show you real quick this Eve Ensler thing. Here's a wiki on her. And she is an American playwright, performer, feminist, activist, white lady. The Vagina Monologues, right? In 2006, Charles Isherwood of the New York Times called the Vagina Monologues probably the most important piece of political theater in the last decade. They did become pretty popular amongst the white ladies, didn't they?
Oh, yeah.
So, they had this big event. Honor the Earth had this event. Here's a page for the event that they threw up. And it says, join Eve Ensler, Winona LaDuke, and Louise Endrick. And Louise Endrick. Who's that, Duke?
She's an author.
Tell me more about it. See, I knew
She's a
you would know
Minnesota-
about it because
she's a
white people stuff.
She's an Indian Minnesota
Oh,
author. She wrote The Beat Queen.
Oh, okay.
Mostly white feminists read her.
Ah.
That's where I heard about her, and women's studies courses at the college, which were run by white women and, for white women studying feminism.
Mm-hmm.
So she's someone who, wrote books, The Beat Queen. I thought was pretty good. It gave a good explanation of how migrant farm workers got here. But no, so she's very popular in Minnesota. So she's a good headliner for an event like this.
And the video that's on there does not resolve to anything anymore.
Okay.
It used to go to a Vimeo video, but it's not available anymore. So you can't really see what it's about. But if you scroll all the way down, you can see that they are they and Honor the Earth and 1 Billion Rising and the Women's Congress it presented the event, and then they will be raising money at this event for Honor the Earth. Basically, it's a fundraiser for herself.
Okay.
And at the very bottom, you will see that they are hosting this at the Women's Club Theater, and I don't know where that is. It's in Minneapolis.
Mm-hmm.
And is that a nice place, Duke? Do you know where
I
it
have no
is?
idea. I've never been there.
Okay. They're going to have Native musicians, Native women, musical guest Chastity Brown. Is she any good, Duke?
I don't know who that is.
And they're also going to be talking about the exploration of the intersection between extreme extraction and violence against Native women. Does that include sexual violence? Or do you care about that, Winona?
Yeah.
Now think about that. This is an event being planned for this very purpose while one of the women in her organization is experiencing this kind of violence in the form of sexual harassment by a man who also diddles with children. And with no shame, she invites the people that come to her to tell her she needs to do something about the sexual violence happening. No shame. She's just like, And if you go to the very bottom of that slide of the event, you will see how much they were going to collect. Okay? You can see here that it was about, well, I can't see because I can't see the slide, but I can tell you that it was an expensive plate of
I think
food.
it said.
$100 a plate? Yep, that's right. $100 a plate. And they're going to have hors d'oeuvres, festive beverages. And this took place in February of 2015. Now, how did she treat the situation with Eve Ensler on deck? Okay. Well, it says here that in the complaint on January 2015, Campbell responded to LaDuke saying that she couldn't work on this event in good conscience on any anti-sexual violence event for Honor the Earth, representing Honor the Earth, while LaDuke was harboring a sexual predator at Honor the Earth that was attacking her. And LaDuke said to her that Campbell had not given her enough time to talk to him yet and tell him about the complaints against him, and Campbell then pointed out to LaDuke that she had had months to do something about this and she had done nothing about it. And so that same day that they had this conversation, LaDuke sent a Facebook message to Michael Dahl and said, quote, "What I'm going to do is have a nice visit with you this week, you and me. You're in a bit of a pickle." A pickle? A cucumber? She might as well have said eggplant emoji. Duke, I mean, come on. I was waiting for you to make that joke.
Oh, yeah. What a joke, huh?
How do you refer to people sexually harassing your employees, your other employees, and abusing, sexually molesting children? A pickle.
Yep.
A pickle?
It shows her insincerity, non-concern about the whole issue, and to say something like that. And all this information we're reading from at the very beginning of the show, and I think Nemo shared the link, is publicly available material on this case. I mean, I'm not sure where it's at when it comes to the filing and the hearings or whatever's happened with it. Cindy might fill us in on that eventually here, but this information is out in the public. You can get it on the web. And if you follow that link, you can actually read the whole thing yourself. And we're basically, going through it at a... we're going through it, and we can just do our best to give you the information.
A pickle? He's going to call it she's going to call it a pickle? A pickle. Really? A pickle. Duke, what do you think about that?
Well, that pickle is green, so it's actually, if you hold it up a little bit away from your face in front of the screen. No,
pickle.
move it out like this.
No. I think a pickle is what you put next to your half sandwich and bowl of soup.
Yep.
A pickle is when you have a flat tire on your bicycle. That's a bit of a pickle.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, that's what she calls it. Winona says, I think you're in a bit of a pickle. I think. You're in a bit of a pickle, I think. And I want to help you get out of that pickle if I can. You're in trouble, and I am going to get you out of it. Or at least be your friend. She wants to be your friend. Friends with a pickle. Because part of Campbell's job duties were to monitor LaDuke's social media, Campbell saw this Facebook conversation herself. Campbell was concerned that LaDuke continued to trivialize her problem. You think?
Yeah.
And then Winona asks Terry, her brother, this is her brother, Terry LaDuke, what he thinks. Or she, I don't know if Terry is a woman or a man. It's her brother. It's her brother, I think. Anyway, it says here in the complaint, on January 31st, 2015, at number 85, that Campbell responded to LaDuke saying that her conscience... Oh, this is the one that I just did, isn't it? No, this is the pickle one? Oh, yeah, this is the one I just did.
Yeah. You're on this one now.
Okay. I don't know why I couldn't find it.
It's right here.
Okay. Winona LaDuke continued, I don't think Dahl is a predator or a pedophile. So she wrote this through Facebook Messenger, even though one of the person who's being sexually harassed, Campbell's job, Winona LaDuke knows she's supposed to check her social media for her and her mail and and answer her email, pay her bills, do all that stuff, even though she still wrote the alleged sexual predator, and told him that I don't think Dahl is a predator or a pedophile, as he has raised a lot of young men, and there's no discussion, sign, or anything of that. There's a lot of trust of him by young men and all of us. I would stand by that. Okay, and then LaDuke, it says, did not explore or even acknowledge the inconsistencies between this and her assertion that Dahl did have sex with the minor under his spiritual care, or that or talk about the reality that there was in fact much discussion and many signs about Dahl's predatory behavior, including the sexually inappropriate comments toward minors that she had personally witnessed. I think we missed a slide here.
Yeah, we did.
You didn't go to the Terry one.
There we go.
See, they were out of order.
All right.
Okay. So this is why I need to read them on my side, because I get out of order because I am looking at the wrong slide, and I should be looking at this one. It says that over the next few days, as LaDuke continued to discuss the issue on Facebook, sorry, I got out of order here, with friends and with her friends and Honor the Earth board members, it became increasingly clear to Campbell that LaDuke and Honor the Earth would not take action against Michael Dahl. Instead, Honor the Earth's primary concern was public relations. How does it look? Maybe they should have gone to the Vox Veritas lady, the The people that protect sexual predators over there with the Fitzgibbons group guy.
That's
lady.
right.
That works with Winnie Wong. Oh, maybe they already got it on the... I mean, they protected Jordan Sheridan.
Exactly.
From TYT, and she's got friends over there. Maybe that's who they're going to get for the job.
Maybe.
They like protecting sexual predators, people accused of sexual predation. Anywho, it says that to investigate the allegations of sexual misconduct with minors, it says investigation in quotes, guys, because she didn't really do anything other than talk to her friends on Facebook, her board members, and her brother. And it says that LaDuke reached out to her relative, Terry LaDuke, on Facebook Messenger February 2nd and said, and that Terry had noted, quote, I know there's lots of talk about Dahl as a pedophile. Her own brother, her own relative, Terry LaDuke, responds, there's lots of people talking about this guy as a pedophile. And it says, first heard the rumors from ugly old Mark Rollo in the 90s. So it has been an open secret since the 90s that this guy is a sexual predator, a pedo. A pedo. Terry says pedo. LaDuke's own sister yelled at LaDuke on the horse ride. The only person that is unwilling to recognize that this guy is a sexual predator in her own family is her. And it says, it goes on first, that Winona LaDuke responds to her relative Terry LaDuke, quote, I think Dahl is two-spirit. That means she knows he's gay. And probably did have sex with this guy. This guy is a 15-year-old child at the time of the sex.
Wow.
Okay? And she goes on, this is pretty callous. She wrote this in Facebook response to Terry. And that was no good for either of them. It wasn't a relationship, Winona. Right. They weren't dating. This is sexual predation. And she says, and the guy's mom, what does the guy's family members have to do with him being sexually assaulted by your employee? Question mark. Do you have any answers to that, Duke?
No, of course not. It's just totally bizarre that her brushing it off, and her own relatives and people around her in her own community are telling her, hey, there's a problem here. And she's like, nah, and just so minimizing. She did not want to deal with this. She wanted to get rid of that employee, get that person the heck out, and move on, collecting money and keeping the facade going.
It's important to note in this that her employee, two people from two sexual survivors groups that had a witness that heard the accusations made at a ceremony, told her, as well as her sister and this relative, Terry. 5 people. Am I missing anybody?
Nope.
Apparently, everyone has been telling her. And look at the lengths that she went to not fire Mike Dahl, according to this complaint. And this graphic here I'm showing you is pretty damning, folks, because one thing we do know is that this employee who is suing Winona LaDuke and Honor the Earth had a duty. One of her job duties was to monitor LaDuke and respond to LaDuke's social media accounts. So she physically saw this conversation. More than likely, she will be entered into evidence with this complaint. Okay? She's got her dead to rights here. These are the words of Terry LaDuke. These are the words of Winona LaDuke. Okay? According to this complaint, that's what we know. And Winona seems to contradict herself, because here she's acknowledging she believes that he probably did have sex with this child. And his mom is kind of, I don't know. His mom. I don't know about her. She has something that Winona don't like, right?
I guess.
Something Winona LaDuke doesn't like the child, the 15-year-old child's who was molested's mom. So, some kids gotta accept being sexually molested by my employees if their moms are like not right with me. What do you want me to do? Like his mom? And then she says, it says that Winona did not acknowledge in her writing to Terry, her relative, that the guy involved was the 15-year-old boy, incapable of consent, and that Dahl had a position of authority over him as his spiritual advisor. Guys, then the next slide is that Winona stands by her man, Mr. Dahl. Winona stands by him. She then, right after she wrote this, Winona LaDuke of Honor the Earth responds that she is pretty sure that Michael Dahl violated a 15-year-old boy. And by the way, she doesn't really like his mom. She goes on to, like a crazy person that doesn't remember what she just said, right? I don't think he's a predator or a pedophile, and he's raised a lot of young men. And there's no discussion, sign, or anything of that. There's a lot of trust of him by young men and all of us. I would stand by that. What your own brother just wrote a paragraph ago, that everyone's known about him being a pedo since the 90s. LaDuke did not explore or even acknowledge the inconsistencies between this and her assertion that Dahl did have sex with a minor under his spiritual care, or with the reality that there was in fact much discussion and many signs about Dahl's predatory behavior, including the sexually inappropriate comments toward minors that she had personally witnessed. Now, here's one of the disgusting things for me. Go back to the one before it. The one in which it talks about Terry LaDuke. This is what her response is to LaDuke, Terry, her relative, telling her that this guy was a pedo and he's known about it since the 90s. Her response is, yeah, you know what I think he is? He's gay. Because homosexuals like to sleep with little children, right? Is that what Winona LaDuke is saying, Duke?
Yeah.
That homosexuals are pedophiles?
Pretty much. That's what I'm seeing in here.
This
is so crazy because this woman is up on stages. She is brought into universities and colleges to speak. People line up, pay money to go see her. She gets huge honorariums to go speak as a native leader who went to Harvard. Excuse me. And I've been to different events, and then she's selling her books. She has many, many books, and she's selling them. And she's always revered as this, Winona LaDuke is going to be there, and people rush her. Sold out events, filled to capacity, standing room only. And this is how she's dealing with people in her own organization, in her own community. It's like, wow, what a faker. She's been faking it for a long time, faking it to make it. It's pretty bizarre.
I told you these new age cons are hypocrites. They're hypocrites.
Hypocrites.
And they hang out with other white hypocrites, other astroturfers. And you know what they do? They hurt people. Winona LaDuke went to Harmony Park, famous location of those two white ladies that killed all those black children they adopted.
Yeah.
At Harmony Park. They used to take them there. Where all these hypocrites go, and collected a bunch of them to take down to Standing Rock because they love Indians. They love to pretend to be one. They want to be one of the Rainbow Indians. And they love that in dreads. These white folks at these hypocrite concerts, like the ones at Harmony Park where she goes fishing for guests for Standing Rock and things like that. They show up, and they're essentially hypocrites. And these are the people, remember, Winona LaDuke is friends with Pitaya Queen. Pitaya Queen, the leader of the LGBTQIA issues of the caravan, right?
Mm-hmm.
The one that passed herself off as a Central American refugee to the people in Mexico. Yes, she did. Yes, she did. But the truth is, they actually conceal sexual predators and throw, this is what my gay child just told me, just throw LGBTQ folks under the bus. Thanks, Winona LaDuke. And Nemo says she's lesbian. Wow, she's throwing two groups of people under the bus. Is she lesbian? Did we out Winona LaDuke on? I didn't know. Maybe she is.
I don't know about that.
And Nemo says, if that's true, that's really disgusting that she would do that. Now, well, look at Pitaya Queen. She's smuggling people. She's accused in Mexico of sexually trafficking children. Nemo says, now I feel even more gross after confronting her a few years back in college. She was acting so weird. Winona LaDuke? Nemo, you're my hero. Okay. Anywho, a little bird told me that this woman is very much about hanging out with the hippiocrits. I also borrowed that term from the person, the little bird. But I'll tell you something. That little bird is right on point. Now, LaDuke is accused of not exploring any of her inconsistencies or cognitive dissonance that she caused even to herself, probably. But this complaint is it just keeps getting more and more revealing. In number 94, it says, continuing the Facebook comment thread, Terry LaDuke stated, quote, my sons respect him. He was their teacher. I met the boys he raised too, but big mistake made to experiment with that boy. What? Terry LaDuke, Winona LaDuke's whatever sibling something, says big mistake to experiment with that boy. He was a lab experiment, like a rat. This is like an experiment. Now you're talking about the sexual assault of a native boy by a fake shaman in your employ and in the employ of Honor the Earth. And Terry is discussing this with the executive director, saying, too bad he did that experiment. Nemo, your thoughts? But what I wanted you to read, Mom, just throw LGBTQ folks under the bus. Thanks, Winona LaDuke. I already did it. I already did that one. Okay. I didn't miss it. I'm not missing anything. Okay, let me see. Seriously, I have a question for my child, which is, how do you feel about her relative after what you just heard about, the, I don't know, tone deaf, stupid comment, pendeja comment that these people are making? Both of them seem to have little sense of how to be good allies to queer people, LGBTQ people. That's what it seems like to me. Winona then responds, I have to put him on administrative leave till I finish the anti-sexual violence Eve Ensler event. Let me put him on administrative leave. Doesn't it sound like the cops that go on administrative leave?
Yeah.
It's like, hey, let me violate this person's rights a little longer. But she says, I talked to him yesterday and told him I would keep up on the rest of the work with him. So she contacted him about the pickle and basically said, hey, you know what? I'm going to keep working with you. Don't you worry. I'm going to have to put you on leave for a little bit, though. Yeah. Okay, buddy? Time out. And she says, I believe him. Thanks for the level head. Thanks for agreeing with me.
Yeah.
I'm going to keep working with this guy. Was there even a sense that she might have any interest in actually like holding him accountable?
No, not at all.
Didn't seem like it to me.
No.
What other organizations is Honor the Earth supporting? What other organizations? Other organizations. In a subsequent conversation on Facebook, the work that she does with Indigenous Environmental Network, it says, in a subsequent conversation on Facebook with Honor the Earth board members, LaDuke wrote that she confidentially checked out the story. So her conversation with Terry, some board members, and likely somebody at the Indigenous Environmental Network who only tattled on Campbell so that she got chewed out by one of Goldtooth's achichincles. Mm-hmm. Remember EIN people spreading around a bunch of posts about another guy that was accused of sexual?
Yeah, they wanted to cover that one up too.
And they wanted to cover that one up too. And it says here, in this, why can't I find it on mine? Makes me mad. Here it is. In a subsequent conversation on Facebook with Honor the Earth board members, LaDuke wrote that she had checked it out confidentially with Terry and that she really does think Dahl's version is the correct one. Then the board members responded primarily with concern about the damage to the organization from the rumors and other actions by other organizations that other organizations, you mean like the sexual violence ones, might be taking. So they were basically worried about covering their butts. Board members suggested that Honor the Earth might want to take some action against those other organizations. Should we retaliate? And they issue a press release, and they encouraged LaDuke to follow up with a personal conversation with Goldtooth. So we know that once again, Indigenous Environmental Network is also involved in this kind of drama.
Yeah,
cover up. And then Campbell is placed on administrative leave. In contrast with LaDuke's approach to the sexual assault and abuse allegations against Michael Dahl, she and Honor the Earth took immediate action to punish Campbell for raising the issue. And on February 4th, 2015, Honor the Earth board members informed Campbell she was being placed on administrative leave. And when Campbell inquired further, the board members and LaDuke clarified that the leave would be unpaid. Then board members told Campbell she had violated their confidentiality by talking to Goldtooth, who was already covering for her.
Yeah, exactly.
Already covering for them. Honor the Earth didn't have any confidentiality policies, and talking to Goldtooth was Campbell's last resort when she had tried for months to work internally to get the organization to address the sexual harassment and abuse. So, after putting Campbell on unpaid leave, LaDuke said perhaps Campbell could be paid for some work. And the only work she would permit Campbell to work on was to help her organize her fundraiser and promote her anti-sexual event with Eve Ensler, which Campbell refused to do. So she's like, either you do what I tell you or you're going to end up jobless. Mm-hmm. Do you want that? And Campbell was like, no, but I don't also want to fall into the moral turpitude that seems so, easy for you. So on February 7th, after Campbell resigned, she resigned, by the way, guys. She resigned. And that's important because LaDuke is going to do something even more crazy in a minute, according to the allegations in this complaint, in this lawsuit. LaDuke sent Campbell an email threatening her to stay quiet about what had happened. And in the email, LaDuke said that the comments from Campbell could be grounds for a defamation lawsuit. And that continuing to speak out would not be helpful to the movement or to Campbell's continued political work in this realm. She threatened her job. Yeah. She threatened to sue her. And she said, "You're hurting the movement." Where have you heard that before, Duke?
Standing Rock. all the work you do, you've been accused of that from day one,
Uh-huh. You're hurting the movement. What you're hurting the activists involved in all of the good works.
Mm-hmm.
And then it says, after being terminated from Honor the Earth, Campbell went to a meeting being held by Claremont and Stevens Hunter, the two people with these sexual survivor organizations. Mm-hmm. And the topic of the meeting was to address sexual abuse by purported spiritual leaders in the Native community, like Dahl. The meeting was attended by several, I don't know, because it cuts off there, but we'll go to the next slide here. And it says that, it was attended by several spiritual, or I don't know, several people. I don't know who they were because I don't have the next slide. And I don't know if how it ends. But the next one says that on February 20th, LaDuke sent Campbell a cease and desist style letter. So after she threatened to sue her for defamation, tell her that she would not have work anymore in the future if she didn't do what she was told to do, and shut her mouth, that, she needs to cease and desist. In the letter, LaDuke accused Campbell of showing, quote, clear disregard for the best interest of Honor the Earth as the organization you were contracted with and paid to promote. And furthermore, LaDuke responded by sending a letter let me tell you that there was a group of people. How did we miss this piece? We missed something. Let's go back to the threats and defamation. Maybe that's where it was. Is that possible that I missed a slide? Well, let me tell you what happened, okay? Campbell was placed on administrative leave. And what happened was that after she quit, because she quit because they told her she would not get paid for anything. And she refused to work on the Eve Ensler thing. So after that, she gave her letter of resignation to the board. And that's when she got the letter for the email from LaDuke threatening her and telling her she was going to hurt the movement and that she could be sued for defamation if she said anything about her quitting Honor the Earth and what she did for Honor the Earth. And this woman ended up going to a meeting to address the sexual violence abuse purportedly happening by spiritual leaders in Native communities. And 28 people that went to these meetings signed a letter to Honor the Earth and Winona LaDuke personally asking her to do something about Michael Dahl. They wrote her an open letter, Duke, and they sent it to her, and they all signed it. And then that's when she got a cease and desist letter threatening her. So 28 people from the community went to her and told her. This reminds me of the Kathleen Bennett thing all over again, because these people don't care how many people come and tell them that what they're doing is despicable. They will continue to simply keep going. Inexplicably, they keep going. So LaDuke then turns around and sends her a cease and desist style notice. And in the letter, she accuses Campbell of showing disregard for Honor the Earth and tells her that, and tells the signatories of that letter, that open letter, that included Stevens, Hunter, Claremont, and Campbell, telling them that she had fully investigated the situation, which we know she did not, and that she would be in town that day, and that she said if they wanted to get to the bottom of the situation, they could meet with her in person, quote, if they dare. And Michael Dahl, was CC'd on the letter. So she's like, the guy that you guys are all accusing is going to be there probably. So come on down. We'll face you face to face. And on February 26th, LaDuke's lawyer then sent Campbell a threatening letter giving her fair warning, quote, fair warning and official notice that her statements are not accurate. The letter went on to threaten legal action if she did not, quote, stop the defamation and walk away quietly. Shh. Since her resignation from Honor the Earth, Campbell has been effectively blacklisted from employment in any job in the environmental world. Okay? This is the power that Winona LaDuke has been given by all of the people that support her and the organizations that fund her. Oh. That allow these people that like these New Age cons, that like these fraudulent, phony, fake shaman, and give them agency. Because that's what Winona LaDuke is accused of doing here. And I know that there are others amongst the people that she supports and funds through her organization, Honor the Earth. Since her resignation, according to the complaint, Campbell said that she had been effectively blacklisted from working in the environmental movement, and that since LaDuke is very well known and respected in the environmental community by white funders, LaDuke has falsely told other environmental organizations that LaDuke fired her for violating confidentiality rules. So she lied and said, well, we had to fire that lady. And tells a lie. This, let me tell you, as far as I know, it is illegal to do that. You were a employer, Duke. What do you know about that?
Well, it's retaliation. She's doing so many things wrong, and this is in this complaint. Like I said, I don't know where it's at in the courts, but this is horrible. And also, she's not just being funded by organization. This is an organization that funds other organizations.
Yeah.
That kids, they do the foundation work. They
Right.
receive lots of money and give it out to other people, give it out to their friends. EIN being one of the main ones that rose the same time as Honor the Earth. Shared people, shared resources, similar missions. I was on several funding committees. I was on the Headwaters Foundation for Justice board for 9 years, and I was also on their grants committee for more than 9 years. And these organizations would come in for grants. We didn't give them through our specific grant, but we had a native fund that would. And I always thought it was interesting, that these same people would be kind of going through the different organizations. And also, Honor the Earth, did the Indigo Girl concerts all over the country. They came to Fargo several times, probably 3, 4, 5 times, and did big fundraisers here for environmental issues and activism. So, it's like they raise a lot of money, distribute a lot of money, and this is the behavior from their main leadership. It's
white
disgusting.
Progressive funders, I've always complained about this, Duke. I've told you this. White progressive funders tend to choose New Age cons.
Yeah.
A lot of New Age cons, the organizations that are really backed by, fronted by Indian faces, but backed by white imperialist worldviews, frankly. Okay? And I'm saying that because these organizations purport themselves to be against that. And look at what they do, what they're accused of doing. So Campbell then applied to work at 350.org, Bill McKibben's organization, which was also out at Standing Rock. And it is also a national environmental organization. And on April 1st, 2015, LaDuke went out of her way to send staff at 350.org an email saying, quote, the board directed me to terminate Campbell for violating confidentiality. I did. I also filed a cease and desist letter against Campbell. Campbell was not given a job at 350.org.
I'm sure not.
As a result of being unable to find work in the environmental sector, Campbell has had to completely change careers. She is currently working for minimum wage in a cafe and attending a school for massage therapy. Duke, if an organizer worked for you for 6 years and they had the kind of position where they were looking at your mail, paying your bills, and playing nanny to your kids and grandkids and taxi driver and Uber driver and all of these things and had access to all your personal stuff, that much access to your personal stuff, after 6 years, if you blacklisted them, I'm not saying you would ever do that, but if you blacklisted that person in the nonprofit world, how would that devastate the future of that person's career?
It depends on how much influence you have with those other organizations. If you're just whatever, your organization,
people fawn over her.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying that her influence with the so-called environmental organizations, because she was a funder. You're always going to bow to the funders, and they're influencing you heavily because they're giving out the money. So especially 350.org, it's another one. That one's just as shiesty as Honor the Earth. It's another one of those. Look at the wrong kind of green. They're horrible, and they all work together. So if you aren't playing the game, and you know the inside soft spots of everyone, and you have the dirt on everyone, they're going to bury you. And they did. That's what they did.
And of course, we have the Indigo Girls, right? Of course, we have the Indigo Girls really starting up this organization that's supposed to be about Indigenous people, but ultimately, again, white imperialist worldview. And what was the response? This is great because they have put in a motion to dismiss based on, drumroll please, comes down defendant Honor the Earth by and through its attorney Frank Bibo to move his court to dismiss the above captioned case for lack of subject matter jurisdiction because the matter involves enrolled members of the White Earth Band whose conduct at question occurred within the exterior boundaries of the White Earth Reservation, pursuant to Public Law 280, 18 U.S.C. 1360, Sections B and C. The adoption and establishment of White Earth tribal courts, codes, and ordinances preempt Minnesota assumption of civil jurisdiction for its employment matter. In other words, translation, sorry, you can't adjudicate an issue about Native American Honor the Earth organization and Native American Winona LaDuke and Native American Michael Dahl and Native American Miss Campbell, because we are Native Americans, and so you can't touch us. Honor the Earth is above the law. We will not, a Native American woman will not get justice, and the person that they accused of sexual harassment will not be brought to justice, all because we're Native Americans. Interesting message. What do you think of that message coming from Honor the Earth?
Well, I was confused on the little piece when they said exterior boundaries of the reservation. But this whole immunity, and the difference between a tribal court and, district court or, whatever other court you go to. But this immunity that they're standing on, they're not going to address the issues or anything. And they're going to be immune because the sovereignty all of a sudden has a role. All of a sudden it's a sovereignty issue that you can treat people like crap. You can exploit them, and you can send them off to not have another job in a field they've worked in and trained in and have built a career on. You can just do that, and that's going to be what you stand on. Can't touch us. It's out of your jurisdiction, and we can't be held accountable for any of it. That is bull. It's like, holy.
Yep. And also, you can't do nothing about it because I'm Native American.
Yep.
That's the excuse from Honor the Earth's executive director. Through her lawyers, of course.
Yeah.
Then there is this is the introduction of a memorandum of law that is attached as support for the motion to dismiss that says plaintiff's complaint contains 2 counts and prayers for relief based upon Minnesota State Statute sections 363A.01 et sec under the Minnesota Human Rights Act in Becker County District Court in violation of federal and tribal laws. While a corporation is named as the defendant herein, the corporation is just a tool or a vehicle possessed and used by on-reservation tribal members during the alleged conduct by plaintiff. So that means you guys have a lack of jurisdiction, and that means that the plaintiffs suggest that the Minnesota District Court venue and jurisdiction is improper to Minnesota State Statute 542.09, and that Becker County has no subject matter jurisdiction on this case. So throw out the case because you don't have jurisdiction because we were Indianing during the thing that happened to Indians.
Yep.
And you don't have the right. There's 2 counts here, 2 requests for relief. One of those, by the way, is that this person is asking for relief for her lost wages. You know, there are real damages in this case. And this person, the agency, the Indian Native American Defend the Sacred, Honor the Earth executive director's response to her attorneys, and supported by this memorandum of law, is that while the business Honor the Earth is a business that is the one being sued here, it's really LaDuke. She's really, and she's an Indian, and you can't touch her.
Yeah.
What do you think of this, Duke?
I don't see how they got it. Well, actually, jurisdiction issues are something that people make mistakes on all the time in their lawsuits. They get things thrown out. But this one, to me, it's like, okay, so the organization, the corporation actually has the assets, or does it? Does it? How has she been running these organizations? Do they have the assets? But they're the ones that you would be suing because they're the responsible ones. Someone who's the executive director is an employee, or if you're on the board, you're actually an agent of the corporation, of the organization. But the county is like saying, nope, not in our jurisdiction. And actually, the whole part about, it's not really, the corporation didn't do this. It's that person who happens to be Indian and Native American, American Indian. And we're not going to pursue that because we have no jurisdiction over that person because they're an Indian that lives on a federally recognized reservation. Even though it's in the boundaries of our county, our court has no jurisdiction to do it. I can't believe they did that, actually. And I think it's set her off to be able to do more of this. I feel sorry for any employees of this organization because they're going to continue to go on and more people will be exploited.
And I feel like their organization, Honor the Earth, takes a lion's share through LaDuke and the groups that she seems to always be working with, like the Indigenous Environmental Network and others that I have talked about here on my show, and takes a lion's share of funding that could be going to these very impoverished communities like the White Earth Reservation.
Yeah, definitely.
And instead, all of those resources are just going to people like LaDuke and people like LaDonna and people like Vanessa Dundon and people like Evan K. Duke. And the people behind them, remember, are rich. They themselves, in most cases, are very wealthy Native American people. Okay? They come from backgrounds that are heavily favored, and they've got a lot of money in those communities. What's another one of LaDuke's little projects under her Honor the Earth page? Why, it's none other than the Braveheart Society that was very prominent at Standing Rock, one of whose members on boots on the ground at the Standing Rock encampment was Melaine Stoneman. Okay? The woman that kidnapped Kathleen Bennett. Here's Braveheart's Facebook page. You can see Faith Spotted Eagle there. She was one of the people that, along with Arvel Looking Horse, were the so-called, quote-unquote, spiritual leaders of the camp. The very same ones that were working with the Veterans Stand for Standing Rock, L'Oreal Blackshaw, and the people that falsely accused Kathleen Bennett. Okay? The same people working with Mullaney. Honor the Earth, supports this group. These are all the projects that they work with and have funded. Okay? And this is another project of Honor the Earth. And here is one of the events that this group that they support, that includes Melaine Stoneman, does, their annual Water Lily Storytelling Institute. You've heard that before, haven't you, Duke?
Yeah, yeah.
You remember where we heard of it? It was right after Standing Rock.
Mm-hmm.
It was when we saw Melaine Stoneman starting to travel around with some of the headsmen that had framed Kathleen Bennett, and with Faith Spotted Eagle, one of the so-called spiritual leaders of the camp, that we knew were involved in framing of Kathleen Bennett. So we were very interested, and we collected the videos of Louis Grassrope and Menape, another person that accused her that was a headsman, and Melaine Stoneman from that event. This is a post by Digital Smoke Signals, someone else that has always covered for Melaine Stoneman, the crime that was committed against Kathleen Bennett, and the people that promoted discrediting me and our station here because we were telling the truth, and we're exposing all of them and how they work together and how they support fake shaman and new age cons, etc., etc. So you can see here on this post, the Digital Smoke Signals put up that one of the people that is speaking, that is pictured in the still on this photo I'm looking at, is Melaine Stoneman of the Chikangu Rosebud Lakota. And it says she is the Braveheart Women's Society and Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women and Girls. This is in 2018, folks. This is just last year. This woman who kidnapped and put an elder in a early grave was put and continues to be placed in conjunction with events having to do with vulnerable people, like the very person that she helped kill early, Mary Trujillo. And for what reasons, I don't know. She's also a liar. She's also somebody accused of stealing thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars from equipment from the camp. And here she is in this video where she talks about, this is a Digital Smoke Signals video, by the way, where she talks about herself. Here we go. Here, this is this is the video that was pictured on the screen where she talks about the Braveheart Society and what she is doing, what her role is, what are the women of the Braveheart Society supposed to do for vulnerable people, for people that are victims of sexual violence and sexual harassment, huh? How do we combat these things? I don't know how she would know, but this is the advice she's giving. Listen to this hypocrite.
Doing that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Berenice, and we were very happy to be part of filing the case with the UN Rapporteur on Human Rights Defenders. I think there were 38 members of our community that had been targeted, that had been beat up, that had been receiving death threats for their stand against this imposed development, and they're all still with us in this world. And I know that shining the light on these injustices does have an effect. It really does. Our final speaker is speaking on an issue that we first heard about in Canada, but is everywhere. And she's going to be highlighting the work of the Braveheart Women's Society. She's Melaine Stoneman from the Sichangu Treaty Council, or Sichangu Lakota Chicang Nation. And she's going to be addressing the issue of missing and murdered women and girls.
My jail name, colonized name, is Melaine Stoneman. I'm a Sichangu Lakota from Rosebud, South Dakota. Some of the things that come into my mind right at the moment, I have to switch hats because I want to tell you right now, tonight we're going to have some grilled buffalo. But I'm the cook too, me and Hawashte. It's not easy to talk about the work when we're talking about rebirthing our women's societies. Rebirthing our women's societies has changed. Our women's societies have been modernized. Some of the women's societies that we belong to, the things that we do, we take care of our home. We take care of our children. We take care of our grandchildren. But today, some of our children don't have grandmas, and they don't have moms. They don't have their tiwahe to teach them anything. We have a lot of children in our foster homes. In the state of South Dakota, we have to adopt our own grandchildren to get them out of the system. We lose your children. If you don't do anything within 2 years to get your children, they're adopted out. That's an epidemic that is tied to our environmental genocide, which has not changed anything in the 500 years that my people have been here. Environmental genocide started way, way back there when they started raping and killing our women and our children. Through our treaties, it was an act of war for you to come into our territories and steal our women and harm our children, or kill our women and children, or raid our camps. Part of rebirthing our women's societies would be
featured in movies and prominently featured in documentary films and all sorts
Yes.
of different things that we saw all over the place, because they picked Indian faces for their little movie,
Yeah.
for the show that they put on out at Standing Rock. Doesn't matter that they didn't check the backgrounds of these people. Only these outside groups, like the ones funding Hollywood at the very top, like the Bernie Sanders supporters, would go to a North Dakota reservation and set up this camp and bring in all of these New Age cons, frauds, and have them represent Native people and have them usurp their place and astroturf their issue and commit crimes against humans like they have in the Kathleen Bennett case. And let me just share with you what this woman did. She separated an elderly 82-year-old woman with dementia from her daughter for 6 months, leaving her in a hospital to die. As I said, in that time, they didn't. Her family lives in Arizona and New Mexico. They did not come and see her until months in. Melaine Stoneman told me almost right away that she was probably going to die very soon and put her into palliative care. She did a lot of things and ordered a lot of things medically that sunk Mary's health from 60 to 0. Like, she was a vibrant lady that danced and talked. There was a lot of people that witnessed her at the camp. And by the time that her family was able to collect her 6 months later, when Kathleen finally left jail, was exonerated and returned and reunited with her daughter, Mary had bed sores. Mary had a feeding tube. Mary had all sorts of things that Mary had never had. And in a very short period of time, she declined very quickly. She died shortly after they were reunited. It was very sad. This is a video of their reunification. These are the people she hurt.
Oh, she knows it. She recognizes it. I mean, not even kidding.
She recognized me?
She's talking a little bit.
Oh,
Oh, here?
it happened.
daughter, Kathleen. It's me, Kathleen. Hi. I love you.
She works so hard.
Do you remember me? I'm Kathleen. It's Kathleen. I'm Kathleen. Don't go on that side. Maybe she can stay there. Love you. Miss you so much. Miss you so much. Where have I been? She said, where have I been? They took me away to jail. They took me to jail. I'm out now. I'm here. Here. I told you I'd come back. Remember that? I told you I'd go back. Oh, I will.
I mean, now.
See, look. Oh, my dimples. Look at my earrings. You tired now? She likes her kisses. She likes her kisses. Come on, you want this on your arm? You want that? See? It's a rosary. It's a rosary. Okay, well, I'll leave it for you. Okay, I'll leave this here for you. Right here. Okay? Remember Russell used to go like this with the nose? Remember Russell? Yeah. When he was a baby. You remember, Mom? You go like this. Yeah, Russell used to go like this, Mom. See, she knows Russell. Yeah, she knows who Russell is. Tired home. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch. She wants your picture, Mom. Was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see. Yeah, like that? It's pretty, it's so pretty. Thank you, Mom. So pretty. Thank you, Mommy.
She sings beautiful, your daughter. Your daughter is a great singer.
I love you, Mama. I missed you so much.
What Melaine Stoneman and the people that supported her and the people that helped her did to this family, to Mary, to her daughter, is unspeakable.
Yeah.
They had no remorse whatsoever. I showed you that. They continue to try to go out there and tell people that they are working on solving the problems of vulnerable people when they are horrible, horrible people themselves. And this Water Lily storytelling event that hosted her continues to host her. Here she is just last month at the Water Lily storytelling event. And it says there on the Facebook page that Melaine Stoneman is good at cooking and that she just powered through all of the cooking for the 15th annual Water Lily Storytelling Institute. Turns out she's just a cook. She is. And at the camp, she was telling people originally that she was a medic. Now, I messed up a little bit and got ahead of myself in telling you about this other fake spiritual person, Melaine Stoneman, because I didn't finish asking the question about LaDuke, about her daddy. About her daddy that I told you it was Sunbear. Before we get deeper into Miss Stoneman, I want to show you that Sunbear is Vincent LaDuke, Winona's father. Here is in a publication called culturalsurvival.org. There's an article written about a whole bunch of these fake shaman and New Age cons. And one of them is Sunbear, Vincent LaDuke, Winona's daddy. And this is what it says about these fake shaman, okay? It says Vincent LaDuke, who's a Chippewa, Turtle Mountain Chippewa Duke, has argued that the many criticisms of MacLeod and Banakia are misguided. Sunbear has claimed that the ceremonies and wisdom, quote unquote, that he peddles are not truly Indian, although they are still based on Indian traditions. Still, his promotional literature referred to, quote, Native American spiritual wisdom, unquote, offering ceremonies such as the Sweat Lodge for $50 per person, per session, and a vision quest will cost you $150.
Wow.
And, quote, since when is the sweat not an Indian ceremony, close quote, demanded Russell Means, an outspoken critic of Sunbear and his colleagues. Quote, it's not based on an Indian ceremony. It is an Indian ceremony. So is his so-called vision quest, the pipe, his use of the pipe, sage, and all the rest of it. Sunbear is a liar, and so are all the rest of them who are doing what he is doing. All of them know good and well that the only reason anybody is buying their product is because of this image of Indianness that they project. The most non-Indian thing about Sunbear's ceremonies is that he's personally prostituted the whole thing by turning it into a money-making venture. Sunbear also contended that criticism of his activities were ill-founded because he has arrived at a spiritual stew and several traditions. His medicine wheel was Shoshone, and his herbal and other healing remedies accrued from numerous peoples, while many of his other ceremonies were Lakota in origin, and because he started his own quote-unquote tribe, of which he pronounced himself medicine chief. Of course, membership in this odd new entity is composed almost exclusively of Euro-Americans.
White people.
Came with a hefty price tag for said members, and the idea that has caught on among spiritual hucksters, as is witnessed by the formation of a similar fees-paid group in Florida, headed by non-Indian, calling himself Chief Piercing Eyes. Can you go to the next one, please? Let's look at this part of the complaint against LaDuke herself and Honor the Earth, where it says very clearly in the complaint that Dahl did not have the qualifications or the experience typical of a spiritual leader. Outside of White Earth, he is not generally recognized as a spiritual leader in the Ojibwe tradition. So, it is well known he is not a real spiritual leader. Same as LaDuke's daddy. And here is more on Sun Bear and what this author calls his cult. His cult, because that's what these people really like. They have these, they continue to collect members for their cult-like organizations led by these sold out Native Americans and New Age cons and fake shaman. And that's what they're selling. And apparently a lot of white people love buying and funding it. This is exactly the problem, says Nilak Butler, an Inuit activist in San Francisco. Quote, he says, Sun Bear says he's not revealing some sort of secret Indian ways whenever there are Indians around to hear him. The rest of the time, he's the most Indian guy around to hear him tell it. Whenever he's doing his spiel anyway. But you see, if there were any truth in his rap, he wouldn't have to be running around starting new tribes and naming himself head honcho and dues collector. He'd be a leader among his own people. The thing is, says Rick Williams, a Cheyenne Lakota working at the University of Colorado, Sun Bear isn't recognized as any sort of leader, spiritual or otherwise, among his own people. He's not qualified. It takes a lifetime of apprenticeship to become the sort of spiritual leader Sun Bear claims to be, and he never went through any of that. He's just a guy who hasn't been home to the White Earth Reservation in 25 years, pretending to be something he's not, feeding his own ego and making his living misleading a lot of sincere but very silly people. In a lot of ways, he reminds you of a low-grade Jimmy Swaggart or Pat Robertson type individual, a televangelist. Mm-hmm. And another thing, Williams went on, Sun Bear hasn't started a new tribe. Nobody can just start up, come just up and start a new tribe. But what he's done is start a cult. And this cult he's started is playing with some very powerful things like the pipe. It's not only stupid and malicious, it's dangerous. Yep, I agree. Yeah. I think it is dangerous. I think she's dangerous. I think Mulaney's dangerous. I think these people have very little real concern for people and not harming people. And, whether it's first do no harm, whether it's healing people for real, whether it's protecting vulnerable people, I think they're in it for the con. I think they're in it for the money. And let me tell you, they will tell you that they are cops when they're not, marshals when they're not, priests when they're not, really. All sorts of things. They'll tell you that they are medics when they're not. Just like Mulaney did. And her co-conspirator. And rich, privileged, white, sidekick Christina Hollenback. They both were medics. Here's a video of her in one of these Vimeo videos that they did of her. It went straight to Vimeo. I don't think this one even made it to a big screen, but yeah, it's Melaine Stoneman talking about how she's a medic in her own words.
And I'm a medic, and
you didn't get to hear it.
They targeted us.
Let's do it again.
Let's do it again.
And I'm a medic, and they targeted us.
So one of the things that you have to understand about these videos and the propaganda that was coming out of people's mouths that were supported and funded by places like Honor the Earth by Winona LaDuke, you have to understand what the message is about. It's a message of victimization. They're lies, of course. In the same video in which she says and lies, completely fabricates the fact that she's a medic when she has no medical background. She also talks about the fact that she personally and her children, both of whom were there, were targeted because, you know, they're Native American and they were praying, and she walked up to the police and she forgave them, and she told them she was praying for them and the prayer was going to be so powerful, and she did all of this, and she did it, and it was so heart-wrenching because she has so much love inside of her, because they shot at her children and she watched them scream and cry and beg for their mommy right in front of her as battalions were attacking her children. And she cried on cue. She is a horrible, horrible actress. But let me tell you, all of these people want to be actors so badly. Most of them have IMDb's. And I told you that. I told you they are auditioning. They were all wanting to get into the showbiz game. They were all promised that they would have an important role to play. Okay? And Mullaney, here in this police report, you will see also is identified as a medic by the police report. It says there was a woman's advocate in the camp who is also assisting as a medic by the name of Melaine Stoneman. She said she has been acquainted with Mary and Kathleen after being called to the Tarpey for a medical call. Notice, she had to be going to the Tarpey because she's a medic, and she was there for a medical call in late November. She determined that Mary needed to go to the hospital and arranged transportation to the Standing Rock Hospital. She found out later Kathleen had pulled Mary before she was seen and brought her back to the camp. Mullaney said she told Kathleen multiple times she could not even keep Mary in the camp due to the weather conditions and poor living conditions. And Mullaney said that Kathleen was told that tying people up was against the camp rules, and they could not accept that. That they even went to the extent to give Kathleen money for gas and a hotel room in Bismarck. Each time, Kathleen just refused to leave the camp. Mary was finally taken to St. Alexius Hospital after the 17th incident. By the way, this is complete and total fabrication. That is why she was exonerated, and she was all her charges were dropped. But these people tried really, really hard with all of their media allies, with all of their fake news media allies, their newly created platforms, their Hollywood allies supporting all of the people that framed her. We were still able to get her a lawyer, even though almost all of them had been paid off by the Freshet and the Water Protector Legal Collective, and possibly even the Lakota Law Project, because they were out there collecting money too. They were all making money. And so we got this woman, had her charges completely dropped. We proved that everything they said about her was false. We destroyed every one of the false witness statements, proved all of it, even to the degree that we had Melaine Stoneman, the person that accused her of this crime in the first place, saying that she didn't see any abuse. She didn't know about anybody tying her to a chair. It says right here she reported it to the cops. That's what it says on your screen. Right there in the police report, but she denied it on tape. Folks, several times denied that she knew anything about abuse, denied that she had accused her of abuse, denied, because I proved that it was false, that what she did was false, and that she did it with Christina Hollenback, and what they did was horrible. And this white woman, Christina Hollenback, she spoke with Mullaney and another woman's advocate from the camp. It says, Christina Hollenback. They spoke with me, says the officer taking this report for Morton County Sheriff's Office, and says they spoke with me about their time with Mary. Mullaney wanted to let me know how the camps were work in general. She said that she is a woman's advocate for the camp. This is the women's group, the Braveheart Society, okay, that the Honor the Earth supports on their page, okay? She is said to be a prominent role in the Native American tradition. She said she has been raised from a little girl to be one to her tribe. Mullaney said that their role in the camp is to take care of women, children, and the elderly. She was worried about coming to talk to me due to the ongoing protests, but thought this was more important. Christina and her talked about the 3 moments with Mary. So they made up 3 incidences, which they verified with fake statements from people at the camp that they all worked with in this giant network of liars and frauds and criminals. And they made up all of these things so that this woman, Kathleen Bennett, would be permanently separated from her mother, spend the rest of her natural days in jail, and never see her mother again. But that didn't happen, thankfully. And this is Christina Hollenback on Russian television the day after the November 20th clash between police and all of these actors. All of them are actors. In Standing Rock, where the water cannons and the gas and all of that was shot. And she's saying she's a medic. I know she's not a medic, but she's saying it.
We were literally just pulling people off the front line. So literally, you just from out of the smoke, you would just hear somebody say medic transport, and you just go in and they would just pile people in the back of your truck. There's already ice outside the water, so it's already freezing water, and spraying it onto the protesters in under, it's like about 21 degrees last night. So we had massive amounts of hypothermia. They were tear gassing, macing, as well as rubber bullets. When they pulled out the tear gas, a number of the canisters hit people. So we were dealing with projectiles. I mean, the rubber bullets were hitting people in their head, were hitting people in their legs. One elder that I was taking back and forth had gotten hit in the chest with a projectile.
So this woman, who in text messages was coordinating with Wesley Clark Jr., the veteran Stand for Standing Rock creator, working for the Young Turks, and we know that she arrived the day prior to the night prior to this event happening. Literally, she arrived to be on the scene the moment this attack occurred. I happened to be in Standing Rock the night that this happened as well. And I never saw a 7-foot white woman with pink hair. Yeah. Did you see her?
Nope,
we
I
were
didn't.
out there doing interviews all day.
Nope, never saw her at all.
I would have seen that. I am just telling you. And she dresses crazy. She dresses crazy. If you've been watching my show, you've seen her get-ups, and they are crazy. They are cray-cray. So I am telling you that this woman, she would have stood out to me. I did not see her, but suddenly on the day after, when national and international news is covering it, has arrived, she's on right away. She's one of the people that's on the television telling her heroic story at Standing Rock.
Yep.
Later, she was given some award at the UN by the NEXUS people.
That's right.
Right? Along with Menape, another co-conspirator that framed Kathleen Bennett for her heroism. And you can imagine the outrage of this reporter to see them being celebrated by their, funders, privileged funders, these supposedly so-called progressive funders like the NEXUS group, when they committed a heinous crime against this family. And you can see long after Melaine Stoneman and Christina Hollenback committed that crime against Mary and Kathleen, they were still tagging each other in posts, this one in particular about sex trafficking. You can download an app for it, apparently, and, they want you to share it around because they're so concerned about the safety of women being, kidnapped and such, says the kidnapper and her associate. And as crazy as it seems, these people feel entitled to issues they have no business being involved with. Here, Mullaney talks about the caravan, and yes, she is weighing in on the dang caravan, folks. The criminal, Melaine Stoneman, the person that I would not let to anywhere near any kind of vulnerable group, is she like, oh, so triggering. Of course, she had to weigh in on November 25th, the day all this went down. She had to weigh in on how this is just like Standing Rock. Feels like Standing Rock. So triggering. Didn't expect anything less from these pieces of bleep. Presumably, she's calling Border Patrol pieces of bleep.
Yep.
And this is on a post by Simon R. Jones from that day when the clash happened, the violent clash, like the one that was created for the show out at Standing Rock that she pretended that she was injured in and watched her children and they cried. Said, how is the European AKA government allowed to do this? They themselves are immigrants on stolen land. This is today just south of San Diego at the international border. For hundreds of years, the government is still tear gassing the women and the children. She was in a video just now talking about that topic in that same video where she says that she was attacked because she was a medic. She said that she and her children were beaten and gassed by police. And she put herself there. She put her children there. And so did a lot of other people did because they knew cameras were rolling for the documentary of Myron Dewey, Awake. She was in that documentary movie, Awake, the one with Josh Fox, the one promoted by Francis Fisher and all the Hollywood people that are currently involved with the caravan. So you don't think they can orchestrate all of this? I'm showing you bit by bit, piece by piece, how they do it. How they use New Age cons for their New Age con on you, the American public, with all of these people. And they're just recycling the people that were actors at Standing Rock. They're going to just use them now in this new venture with the caravans. And who else is she always connected to? My Doug McLean. Doug McLean's in there. Here's a picture Doug McLean was filming in. You can see him there's a Melaine Stoneman. This was posted by one of their buddies, Raymond Kingfisher, who's always in the circle with Nathan Phillips and Chase Iron Eyes of the Indigenous Peoples March, another person that had fundraisers for legal groups out at Standing Rock, the Lakota Law Project. You can see there's Doug McLean in the brown khaki pants, and he's filming as per his usual. This is when the closure of the camps was happening, and these folks, Melaine Stoneman and Holyoke Lafferty, were holding a press conference to tell people, in conjunction with their meetings with one of Governor Burgum's assistants, Levi, Bachmeyer, that from the governor's office, that Melaine Stoneman would be put in charge of the evacuation of the camps. This was during the time that she was kidnapping this woman, that she had custody of this woman. At the time, she was put in charge of that important detail. And of course, she was reportedly she's reported to have done a whole bunch of really horrible things. But that didn't stop them from putting her in a prominent position, because all the people that these folks work with turn out to be pretty freaking dangerous. Many of them have histories of fraud, of violent crimes, and all sorts of things. And they all just, birds of a feather stick together. And Winona LaDuke is also connected to this Doug McLean person that I told you is the real white face, liberal face, climate change, leftist, all of this stuff, connected organization, white dude, well-meaning white dude, that is really one of the people behind all of these Indian faces that they put up, like Winona LaDuke's. And he just loves him some Winona. He takes the pictures there with her quote, and talks about Winona's hemp, her new project, promoting that, help her out. That's the same hemp farm where some of the sexual abuse is alleged to have occurred, by the way.
Yep. And
that she continued to allow to happen according to the allegations against her by the people that were the victims of this man. And sorry about that. And according to Mr. Doug McLean on his, I believe this is Instagram account, Doug Aqua, which is like Doug Water.
Yeah.
If you don't know Winona LaDuke, here's your chance to meet how truly inspiring she is. If you already know, respect, and love her, here's your chance to hear where she's right now. Grateful am I for her speaking for another day and another amazing event to live stream, link in bio. And, you know, he shares a lot of her events. So it goes places where she's speaking and promotes her. I mean, she essentially has her own little army of media people at her beck and call. And those people, like Doug McLean, are the people that are actually controlling the message. They're also helping with the funding. So, you know, in a way, she does their bidding. And they're, you know, the people that are connected to Doug McLean are responsible for bringing you what happened at the Indigenous Peoples March with Nathan Phillips. Here in this post, you see Doug McLean is tagging the terrorist Alfonso Guerrero Ulloa and 84 other people, many of whose names you will recognize, like the other media messenger, Rob Wilson, that was out at Viento y Marea with all of these pseudo-activists that are exploiting the caravan. Lolly B, the other person working with Al Otro Lado, that of course is out there lying to people, giving false hope to people that they can gain asylum when they can't. And Kei Kurimoto, this is Raymond Kingfisher that was involved with the Nathan Phillips hoax. You've got Dave Gaskin, who works closely with Myron Dewey, the other guy involved with high political figures like his wife. You know, his wife, Deb Parker, is working on the revolution. Our Revolution has worked with Bernie Sanders' campaign and more. You've got Frances Fisher, actress Frances Fisher, Michael Negro, who is another. What's his the publication? Well, he writes an article, so he's one of the other messengers. Lori Woodley, actress Shailene Woodley's mother, one of the people that was also at Standing Rock. You've got Tina Pugliese of Indigenous Women's Media, another one of the many organizations and media platforms that are backed, that are funded, that are supported, that are promoted by people like Doug McLean in exchange for doing whatever they want with them. These people, in the end, can control the message, after all. And they use Indian faces to sell it to you, to me, to everyone else. Who else is on this list? Well, there's Winia Locke, one of the Lloronas that was begging for money and begging for people to come to camp. You've got Josh Fox, the person that did this horrible Nightmare on Elm Street film about Standing Rock featuring Melaine Stoneman, the kidnapper, with Myron Dewey, once again. One of the people very prominently involved with the caravans now and the Border Support Network now. And, of course, Myron Dewey is also in there. There's Althea Phillips, Nathan Phillips' daughter, LaDonna Tamakawasi Wastewin Allard, John Gonzalez, fake Indian standing bear. You've got Althea Phillips, Nathan Phillips' daughters. You've got Takata Iron Eyes, Chase Iron Eyes' daughter. You've got Winona LaDuke tagged in there, of course, because this is the circle of never-ending jerks. And Brenda Norrell. You've got Prolific the Rapper, also from Standing Rock. Susie Desbach. No podía faltar. No Miki Const of TYT, because, of course, TYT's got to be in there for good measure. Look at the full circle of jerks, folks. And you will notice that Doug and Lolly and Adam and all of these people that were out at Standing Rock that also have been involved with the caravans are fundraising. They're close. They're the group of people connected to the Viento y Marea people that went to the Agape shelter that were given drugs. They're the people connected to the folks that were inside, that were in a standoff with the federal police for no freaking reason. They're the people that were accused of doing fake marriages with Al Otro Lado. They're the people. I could go on and on and on, but you've seen my shows. They're the people. And there is prominently Doug McLean with all of these people promoting the stuff, that the stunts the cons that are happening now with the caravan. Folks, pay attention. And it's all, the work that he does through this pipeline page that he started way back and had thousands and thousands and thousands of followers, a platform he now uses to promote the caravans and the cons that he works with, is the pipeline protesters page on Facebook that he runs with Jim Grey Wolf Petruzzi, an Italian wannabe Indian. It's called Standing Rock Protectors Pipeline Protest. That's the page that they managed together. I showed you that he moderates it. I showed you Jim Petruzzi started it. And they have a podcast that he does on a regular basis. He says on it, do not miss this. He's promoting Doug McLean because it says, for those that missed his show, Doug McLean is with the asylum seekers at the border and has been with climate change and water protector movements a long time. He is another Standing Rock alum. Chief Two Dog and I had an easy job on hosts day. Doug led the way. Please come and ask questions after lifting and spread around. Wopila, Doug. Okay, now, if you think it's just a coinkydink that Jim Grey Wolf Petruzzi, that Winona LaDuke and Honor the Earth have been embroiled in shocking sex scandals involving children, involving predators, and the Indigenous Environmental Network, and if you think, the separate, unrelated, Cindy, this is not a pattern. Let me just remind you that Jim Petruzzi loves to do these horse rides. And I told you in my show that I did about him a while back, connecting him to Doug McLean early on when the caravan started. And I told you that one of the people that he had on these horse rides was at Standing Rock in one of the security groups, and that he was a registered sex offender. That was one of the cousins of Dave Archambault. Frank Archambault is his name. You can look him up. You can find his mugshot online. You can Google his name, and you can Google you can search for his name, Frank Archambault, and Jim Grey Wolf Petruzzi on Facebook, and watch what comes up. Their horse rides together. But you should also know that a lot of these things were open secrets, not just at camp at Standing Rock, but in the communities that these people run. And I will remind you, it's not that they it's not so much that they cover for criminals, frauds, cons, and predators. It's that they themselves are those things. They themselves promote those things. So why would they have a problem with that? And Doug is Sanctuaries of the Mother Earth founder. It sounds like a New Age con because it totally is a New Age con. And Jim Petruzzi is a fake pretend Indian. But I'm going to show you the Sanctuaries of the Mother Earth website, I guess, and show you his bio so that you can see what it says about him and what he is. Jim Grey Wolf Petruzzi, that's a nickname that he says his adopted Lakota family gave him. He is not Native American. He is an Italian guy. The motivation for SOTEM, which is what I just told you, the Sanctuaries of the Earth Mother, is from a vision that Jim had during a vision quest in the mid-1990s. Jim was walking in and studied and melded with nature and its creatures his entire life. He's dedicated the last 20 years of his path to serving people through providing educational, spiritual, and healing opportunities. His degrees are in education and masters in environmental interpretation and natural resource management. His real degrees are in what he has acquired from his indigenous teachers and directly from Mother Nature. In 1990, Jim began studying with indigenous people, Native Americans, Mayans, Australians, Africans, and others. He's run nonprofits and served on boards of others for over 25 years. He served on many boards of directors over the past over the years, but never had the honor to serve with such a powerful, diverse group as this one that we have here. Between the board's members and support council, we have a beautiful mix of many skills, cultures, knowledge, and wisdom. Each member knows one or more of the STOTA mission areas intimately, and more importantly, each has connections to others with vast stores of knowledge as well. I give thanks for this group daily, as well as those who have served and those who will serve in the future. Jim Graywolf. By the way, there is so much people said to me after I talked about him the last time that you guys sent to me saying that, a lot of these groups that teach spiritual healing that are supposed to be exclusively for Native Americans or Native American women in many cases, or Native American women's issues in many cases, are being opened up to the public, or more likely prostituted out to the highest bidder, so that Euro-Americans can go and consume your culture like a snack, like a tasty snack. Usurp and silence real people in the Native communities with real issues, and astroturf the issues for themselves. That's what these cons do, but they're also extremely dangerous. That's why we need to understand them and stop them and expose them. Thank you for being here and helping me do that and spread the message. Oh, we're going to watch something that I'm going to apologize for in advance here in a second.
Okay.
It is a video of this nonsense organization, the SOTEM, and Jim Petruzzi. It makes me vomit in my mouth a little bit because I hate this New Age con stuff. It's nauseating. These fake shaman are nauseating. But I wanted to give you a taste because this is one more reason why this needs to stop, okay? People are going to be injured. People are going to get sick. People are going to vomit. Here we go.
And so here we're sitting at Sacred Stones Camp, one of the
Oops, I'm sorry, this is the wrong video.
camps now. The big camp is across the way,
Right.
and the Red Warrior
Hold
camp is within.
Fine, leave it. Just leave it, honey.
And
Sorry.
so here we're sitting at Sacred Stones Camp, one of the 2 camps now. The big camp is across the way, and the Red Warrior camp is somewhere within the big camp. But this is the spiritual camp. Sue and Courtney and myself, and some of the people, we've all felt it. This is the place of spirit. The one across the way, the big camp, is kind of the place of protest. We'll talk more about that later, but we were just listening to Winona, who set this whole thing up. She's the one who started this Sacred Stone Camp. And we were also listening to Jim, who's the leading, building the teepees. What they're trying to do is get ready for winter now. Winter's coming very fast here. They're going to need places to live, places to eat. They're putting up a lot of teepees. They're putting up a lot of lodge houses. They're putting up several big eating areas and cooking areas, because you got to be indoors. You're talking about 20 degrees below up here with strong winds, 50-mile-an-hour winds for extended periods, not short periods. And so this camp is going to be ready. Winona is quite a powerhouse. She doesn't broker any nonsense, but she's getting it done. I know this camp will be ready. The big camp across the way is more problematic. I don't see any big effort there to get it winterized, if you will. In fact, she's hoping some of them come over here, because according to Winona, that camp could well be part of it underwater. They're holding back on the waters right now, the Corps of Engineers, but soon more water will come down this river, and it could rise and come right into the other camp. The other camp is focused on the events, the actions, the protest, which is also critically important, but it seems to be that they're lacking in preparedness. I hope that's not so, but that's what we're seeing. And so that's it for this one. Everything is going well here. We're making tons of connections. Oh, Matakuyasu.
If you want further proof that this is a New Age fraud, Duke, I just tossed in the article in the script, the Sodom video that I wanted you to show at the end, and I want you to grab it real quick while I talk. But Jim Petruzzi's video that you just saw was not the one I was talking about his organization Sodom. This is a video that he did when he went to Standing Rock, in which he's talking about Winona LaDuke. I hope you noticed that he said that this is the camp was everything was set up by Winona LaDuke. Okay, remember we were told that it was because of LaDonna, because of Juanilla, Las Lloronas crying and begging for people to come. This is organic, blah 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 blah. He lets the cat out of the bag and tells you, no, it was under the earth. The same people that raised all that money for the lawyers are the same people that started the camps and got people arrested and made the money off of raising the money for the... Are you catching on now? Are you catching on now that they set up all of these things for their documentaries, for their films? These people know how to sell it and they know how to use it for political purposes. It's all for the show, for the spectacle. And by the way, notice that he says it's almost winter time. They're getting ready for winter. This is what they need money for. Jim Graywolf Petruzzi, this wannabe Indian, spiritual con man, fake shaman that started this organization that went out to Standing Rock once, fundraised, requesting over $100,000 for his involvement, for himself, for his Sodom organization, for his nonprofit of spiritual healing mumbo jumbo. Okay? That was all supposed to be for Native Americans. See how that mysteriously works? That somehow the money makes it into the pockets of the fake Indians and the frauds? Right? Not into the hands of the vulnerable people, not into the hands of the migrants in the caravan, into the hands of the fake activists, of the pseudo activists, of the fake Indians, of the new age cons. That's where it goes, and it is nauseating. I don't even know how white people fall for this nonsense. It's disgusting to people of color. It's disgusting, especially to Native Americans and especially real medicine people. It is disgusting. And here is what he does and how he mocks the very culture that he's trying to mimic, or more likely, that he is consuming. He is appropriating it, but he's like, it's so tasty. Let me eat this. Here is his video for Sodom. I apologize in advance. Sanctuaries of the Earth Mother. All are welcome. Teach and learn, give and receive. Stay if you will share the ways of spirit and earth and more mumbo jumbo. The Earth Mother. A sanctuary, in its original meaning, is a sacred place, such a shrine. Worship Earth. Earth is primary sanctuary teacher, providing environmental, spirit, and spiritual grounding. Why is he talking like that? We complete one another in a circle of life. No, because deep within, we are all part of the earth.
Hello, friends of Sanctuary of the Earth Mother. We thought it was time to do another little introductory video. We haven't done one for a couple of years. I'm just going to tell you a little bit about Sanctuaries of the Earth Mother and invite you to explore this website and join up with us if you like. Sanctuaries of the Earth Mother. It comes from a vision I had many years ago, 15, 20 years ago now. And since I've shared it out with others in the circle. So it's actually our vision, not my vision, as most good visions are. Sanctuaries of the Earth Mother is a place we wish to create, and in some ways a place we've already created, where people can come together to learn, to share, to teach about many things, but primarily about how we can again begin to coexist in harmony with our planet and with all the creatures on it, including other humans. It has many parts. We use primarily the teachings of nature and the teachings of the ancestors, the old ones, the ones who used to know how to live in harmony with the earth. But we also are really dedicated to combining some of the old ways with some of the modern ways, with some of the ways of science that are good ways, that are positive ways, not the things that we have corrupted in our modern world, but the science that is good science, the science of sustainability, the science of green building, the science of being able to work with nature and get what we need from her, but give back what she needs rather than just taking. And so these are the things we're looking at. We're also looking at helping to build a world, have a place where we can teach about this harmony amongst people, about relationships. And as we like to say, relationships. How do we have to change how we interact as humans? We've been doing all of this now for about 3-4 years in the virtual realm. We have already created the first sanctuary, and it's global. We have thousands of people following us on Facebook, LinkedIn, the other virtual media. We have a board of directors that is a global board, and a board of advisors that is also global.
The roots of sanctuaries.
And so we have people of all ages, from young to very, very old, involved. That's the virtual sanctuary, and it has great power. We can come together around the world in the same time and share. However, we need now to create in the physical world as well. We need places we can go together and sit and learn these things and practice these things. So we invite you, take a look at this website, make comments, tell us what you think. Go to our Facebook pages, go to all the pages we are, and tell us what you're thinking. Tell us how you'd like to get involved, or just learn a little bit. Enjoy our radio shows. We do radio shows every week, usually 2 a week, on all of these topics and many others. Soon we'll be adding webinars. Soon we'll be doing conferences, because now is the time. This is the time we create a new earth, an earth in harmony and balance, all humans, all creatures, the planet herself, for our children and our children's children's children, which is what we're all about. If we don't do it now, it may well be too late. So please, enjoy yourself here. There are many things to look at, and we hope to see you in our circle very, very soon. Thank you for joining us. In the way of my Lakota adoptive family, Matakuya Ase, we are all one, which means we all truly are one. Thank you. Goodbye.
Oh, man.
Oh, my God.
It goes on for another 3 minutes, too.
Yeah, with just water and that horrible, 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 horrible music.
Yeah.
What in the hell was that? I'll tell you what that was. That was some cult music. That was
hypocrite music.
No, that is exactly the kind of music that cults play to hypnotize your brain.
Yeah.
Did you not hear that? This is real.
Oh, I can't think anymore. I see water.
The vertical realm.
I see the light. Oh.
Virtual sanctuary. What in the hell is he talking about, Duke?
Yeah. I know that he speaks truth. Oh, whoa.
Oh, my God.
Oh, thank you. It's over. Good.
and explain to me how this all has, it brings in all this climate change stuff, and it's connected to natives, and he speaks in Lakota for a minute, and it's like, please. I mean, what does this remind you of? It reminds me of the same culty Menancine Institute. I am a Aztec goddess, spiritual leader craziness of Mary Ann Thompson Frank of Billionaire Wealth.
Exactly.
With NEXUS.
Mm-hmm.
Am I missing something? It's exactly the same. These people are crazy. So much so their ego is so filled with the desire, the lust to be stars, to be spiritual leaders, to be famous, to be in the movie, that they do and are willing to do crazy things together with these very silly white people, and that follow and fund these New Age cons, as that article called them. And I really do. I can see the comparison to televangelists like Jimmy Swaggart.
Mm-hmm.
Can you not?
Oh yeah, definitely.
I can't believe so many people fall for them, but these people have found out how to be New Age cons, and as long as we continue to let them and not expose them and support them and cover them, they will continue to defraud people and be dangerous people that can commit other even more serious crimes, like the ones in the lawsuit against Honor the Earth currently. That's all I've got for you guys tonight. We will get deeper into this. This is a much needed lesson that y'all needed to know about these people and how it connects to the caravans and what's happening right now, and why, how they do it and why they do it and how they fund it. Okay. Now you got more of the pieces and you can understand this spectacle that they are part of and how dangerous it can be. Thanks for being here with me on A Mexican Crossing Lines. Your host, Cindy Gomez-Schempp.
And Duke Gomez-Schempp.
On 88.1 FM, KPPPLP, Fargo-Moorhead, where we are adding local color to your airwaves. Buenas noches.